What's up, guys? Welcome back to Young, Hot, and Divorced. I'm Tori, and I wanted to start off this episode by just saying thank you so much for all of the support. It's kind of insane. I really appreciate every single thing that you guys do. So if you haven't already, please follow this podcast on wherever you're listening. And if you want some extra exclusive bonus content, if you were walking past a musician and you wanted to put a little tip in there, what is it called? Like a suitcase or a guitar case or something like that. My talent just happens to be my trauma, and I am sharing that with you guys. So if you could subscribe, that's like putting a little tip in my tip jar. That would be amazing. So with that being said, I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit more about dating and specifically my dating rules and guidelines currently, because now that I'm here, things have changed. The guys that I'm dating have changed. I really had no expectations once I moved here. Definitely wasn't pursuing any sort of real serious relationship. I think anybody who knows me knows that I need a little bit of a break from that right now. And I've been single for a year and a half, so I'm finally doing that. So good for me. So today's episode is going to be pretty funny. I'm going to talk about who I'm dating, who I want to date, how I feel about dating. I'm going to tell you a couple of really funny stories about guys who have hit on me, who probably had no business hitting on me, or definitely had no business hitting on me. So let's get into the episode. Okay, so right now I'm dating pretty casually. I'm dating a couple of people, and that's definitely new for me. I am usually a one at a time kind of girl, but I'm also usually super excited about one person, and I quickly envision a future and get hyper fixated. And for whatever reason, I'm not doing that this time. And I don't feel like it's totally intentional. I just feel like it's kind of what is naturally unfolding. And I also feel like there's no pressure for me at this point. So I'm in a really unique situation where I'm 30 years old. I physically cannot have any more children myself. And I have two kids who are currently both 5, but going to be 5 and 6 very soon. And most women who are single my age, if they want to have babies, feel this pressure to find somebody, get married, and start that whole journey, obviously for biological reasons. And because I don't have that desire or need to have more kids, I am perfectly content if I never have any more kids. But at the same time, I am also open to anything that kind of comes. I think if there's anything that I've learned thus far, it's that I cannot predict the future, and whatever it is, it is. I don't want to ever never say never, you know? So yeah, I feel like I can be a little bit pickier right now. I think the overall gist of my current dating situation is that I'm feeling a lot more confident. I think since I moved home, I'm just super comfortable. I totally know myself here, whereas in Miami, I think I was kind of starting a life over for myself. And I'm not saying that I wasn't genuine there or anything like that. I think I just didn't ever, I mean, maybe towards the end, I was just trying to find my place there. And here I kind of know where my place is. So it's funny that I say I know where my place is, because I actually request on 99.9% of the dates that I go on that we go to this one specific restaurant. And I don't want to give the restaurant away because it's my secret spot, but what I love about doing this is that I've been going to this restaurant for years, and if you know me, I am sure you can guess which one it is, and I'm a little bit embarrassed, but the truth is that I feel so comfortable there and so protected because the wait staff has known me almost my entire life, and they know my kids, and they know too that I bring dates there. So they play it cool, but also say hello, and also are always looking out for me. So I feel really comfortable there. But just being comfortable in general right now with myself, where I'm at, accepting my situation, and just actually feeling good about it all is suddenly where I'm at, and it's kind of changing my take on dating. I have been coming at this with like some newfound confidence, and I feel like I can be picky. I am looking for somebody who can handle everything that I've got going on. And to say that what I've got going on is a lot is an understatement. It's going to take a very specific kind of person to be able to handle the fact that I'm so vocal about everything. And not only that, but all of the baggage, obviously, that I talk about. I understand that by talking about this, that could absolutely put some people off. But the truth is that if that's that person is not for me. Like, you have to be able to handle everything. And I think that for a while I was willing to compromise and kind of like, dim down, dull down, to fit what somebody else wanted. And I'm just at this place now where I just don't have to, so I'm not going to. And that's kind of been exciting. And that's been leading the charge on my whole dating thing, where I'm coming at it with such confidence that I'm not scared to get hurt and I'm not scared to try, because I've already fallen on my ass and my face as hard as you possibly could. And not only once, but twice. So, like, what could be worse? This is what life is about. You're given this life to try new things and have these new experiences and meet new people. And like, what a blessing it is. I think a lot of what I say about this situation is turning lemons into lemonade kind of thing. But it's true. It's all about your perspective. And don't get me wrong, it's not easy or always quick to get there. But once you do, and I now have, life feels easier because I believe that it is. Something else that's been different about dating for me lately is that I used to fall so hard for one guy that I was dating. I think this makes a lot of sense for my character since I've been married twice in a 10-year time span. But if I liked a guy enough, I'd picture a whole future and I would get so excited, and my friends would fucking kill me because they're like, you need to settle the fuck down. And I don't blame them. Like, they're good friends, because rightfully so. They should be saying those things to me. And I think they'll be happy to know that I've been listening. Okay. I've been good. But I used to fall so hard, is what I'm saying. And now I feel so much more confident that, like, it truly doesn't matter. If it's not going to work, it's not going to work. And that's fine. Like, I've already had that happen to me on a major scale once or twice, you know? So that's putting a new spin on how I've been dating. Yeah. So back to that restaurant where I prefer to go on for most of my first dates. A funny thing happened there a couple of weeks ago. I was going in for lunch, and I've been going in for lunch at this place, specifically sitting at the bar since, like, I don't know, maybe I was 16 years old. I used to work around there. So, yeah, I was really young and they knew me through college. And I used to sit at this bar. And don't get me wrong, like, guys obviously like hit on me at the bar, but I always made it a point to sit all the way at the end. And they had like this bouquet of flowers that was huge, and I would hide behind it. And it was just nice because the bartender was always a friend of mine and looking out for me, and the action on the bar was usually on the other end. So I felt pretty safe and secure, and I'm such a friendly person. I don't mind when somebody starts talking to me. Like, I'm going to talk them up too. Nothing super creepy ever happened. Like, if I want the guy to stop talking to me, I'll kind of signal to the bartender, but that doesn't happen that often. So the other day, I'm sitting at the bar and this guy is sitting fairly close to me. I think he's, one seat away to my right. And I don't remember exactly how we started talking, but the fact is that we did. And we're talking, we're both parents. He's telling me about his daughters, his wife, his life, what he does for a living. And I'm, probably just doing the same. I, I I'm there for lunch. I'm starving. So I order a cheeseburger with french fries and a Diet Coke. And I'm sitting there like inhaling my lunch, talking to him. So, like, I'm not trying to be sexy or pick him up. I am quite literally facing a cheeseburger that is bigger than like this big, like a really big cheeseburger. So it's not like I'm trying to be attractive at all, but I am enjoying, talking to somebody I knew back in town and talking to another parent, connecting, listening to his stories, and even just admiring that he's in a long-term marriage. Like that was pretty cool. And we're having a good time. And I'm a smiley, giggly person. I can totally see that, people might think that I'm flirting with them. But at the end, we both had to go around the same time. And he said, I'm going to pay for her lunch. And I said, no, like, of course, no, like, you can't do that. That's, very, very nice. But like a little bit of a weird gesture, no? Like, you're going to pay for my lunch? What was that, a date? Like, okay, very nice. Then I think like we're going to say goodbye, right? No. So we walk out of the restaurant and I'm preparing to say goodbye and thank you, but he asks where my car is. And it's the afternoon. I'm having lunch and this is a shopping center. And there's plenty of people around and plenty of cars around. Like, I don't need any assistance getting to my car. It's just weird. Why do you want to walk me to my car? I'm kind of trying to divert. I'm like, oh, actually, I got to stop here. And his car is the complete opposite direction. So he's continuing to walk with me. And I'm like, no, really, like, you don't have to come. Really, really, I got this. I got this. Because once he got to my car, what was I going to do? He's either going to ask for my number or try to kiss me. And if there's any other possibility, I am totally down to hear it. But like, I wanted to avoid both of those situations. Eventually, after me protesting like quite a few times, like, no, 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 he was like, okay, like I'll turned around and said goodbye, but also was like, I'm here every Friday in the afternoon. And like, now I know not to go there Friday in the afternoon. But moral of this story is that not only do I like going to that place because it makes me feel safe, but I'm handling a whole new situation now. Believe it or not, this didn't really happen in Miami, but it's happening more so here where married men are hitting on me. Okay, that's a lie. It happened in Miami too. More so virtually and like in my DMs. And I would say that if that happens, basically all I do is like, dude, you're married and I don't play that game. And that's like a little bit easier to shut down than the in person thing. But just navigating that whole dating, not even, no. Well, hold on. I'm going to talk about that dating married men thing. That's a whole other thing. Let's get into this because that's something that I'm experiencing now too, where I'm dating single dads who are still married. And I shouldn't even put that in quotation marks because they are still married. Like they're going through these divorces. And that's a real gray area for me. I am definitely not like, oh, I'm totally comfortable with that. Sure, I was in that position at one point, but both times I've had really quick, pretty easy divorces. And the thought that somebody is just like still so emotionally connected to the divorce and the marriage is a turnoff. It really is. And it like gives me the ick. I'm like, ooh, I can't do that. You're not fully removed enough for me to feel comfortable. But at the same time, I had my whole situationship with that French guy the moment I think either we decided or we filed. It's definitely when we filed. I know we definitely weren't legally divorced. Like the paperwork wasn't signed at that point. So recently I've dated a guy who is not legally divorced but doesn't live with his ex-wife. But also recently I dated a guy who is legally divorced and still shares a house with his ex-wife. And this was a really weird situation that I truly could not get past. They shared the same bed, and he took me to his house and he's like trying to hook up with me, and we go into the bedroom, and on the drapes, like over the window, she has, hold on, I have it like one right here. She has like these hair clips, like hanging clipped to the drapes. So there's all these hair clips around the bed, and I am so uncomfortable. I'm like, I can't do this. Like, ew. Like they've shared, like, I don't know how recently they've been in the bed together, but like, that's just not like, no. They say they, what is it called? Like cohabitate or like some sort of nesting situation with the divorce, whatever it is. It was fucking weird because his daughters were like adults. They were adults. They were in college and I really didn't understand that. Also, when I walked into his kitchen, there was a sign above the range, the stove that said, "Happy wife, happy life." And I asked him why it wasn't removed. Like, why didn't you move that? And he was like, "Oh, we wanted to keep everything in the house the same for the kids." And I was like, "Sure, I understand maybe like keeping some family photos out, but like, the kids are in college, and happy wife, happy life when you're divorced in a kitchen is just weird." And I'm fairly certain this guy was actually divorced. Fairly certain. Like, we went out in public together, but who does that? I mean, obviously not happy wife, happy life. Like, you're divorced. So that part I didn't understand. Maybe I'll just take down that. It's not like you redecorated the entire house. You know what I mean? Like, huh? I often get asked, how are the apps and how am I navigating the apps and what's the deal with that? And to tell you the truth, I'm going to be completely honest about this because people are always asking. And I've married a guy off an app, so I feel qualified to talk about this. The apps that I'm usually on are Raya and Hinge. And lately, I have only been on Hinge. And I'm going to tell you why. Because on Raya, you can't really set the proximity as close as I want to. I have my Hinge proximity set to a 5 mile radius because I'm not really interested in dating anybody in the city except for Sam Bloomstone. If you're listening to this, madly in love with you, would go out with you anytime. Truthfully, fucking dreams. No, I'm joking. No fucking filter. None. None. By the way, that's a guy that I had a one night stand with that I am dying to get on the podcast because truly my favorite one night stand and amazing story and a really funny guy. So back to what I was saying, I feel like I have podcast ADD today. This 5 mile radius is really important to me because now my kids are being established like in school and I want them to stay and feel secure and have some sort of consistency in this new school. And where they had been in private school before, it didn't really matter where you live. Now I'm genuinely looking for a divorced dad that lives in the Roslyn School District. So if anybody knows any, please let me know. I'm willing to check them out. But that's a whole other thing that I didn't even mean to get into, but I'm going to right now, is just dating divorced dads in general. It's like they say one man's trash is another man's treasure, but is that really true? Because I personally sit here and I'm like, LOL, like take my exes, like, oof, the girl that's with them. I'm sorry, is that mean? I'm like, go ahead, take them. So it's hard to believe that you might want to pursue somebody's ex, if you know what I mean. It's funny because I always ask them why they got divorced, and I hear a lot of the same answers. And one of the repeated answers is, "Oh, she was really unhappy," or "she wasn't happy." And immediately you think, well, why was she unhappy? Well, she was just a miserable person or whatever it is. And it's always like, then the next question is, why would she say you guys got divorced? And it was probably like, oh, I didn't pay enough attention to her. I can't tell you how many times I've heard this exact same story. And I'm coming from the women's perspective and I can kind of see both sides. And, there's always like his story, her story, the middle, the truth. And I think you can kind of like feel it out, but I just think it's so funny that that narrative is so repeated throughout these divorced dads situations. So I have a question for you guys. I asked this on TikTok and it actually sparked like a really big conversation and I got some really good answers. So I'm going to ask it here too because I feel like some people get annoyed with me, like I'm not using the proper term or verbiage when I'm talking about my dating life. So, what do you consider dating to mean? Is dating to you like, oh, after you've been on a date or two, you are dating because you've been on dates, so you are dating? Or is it like once you've been together for a couple weeks or a couple months kind of thing, you're dating? Or is it once you're exclusive, you are dating? There's so many definitions. And to me, I almost think I use it like after one date. So if you hear me say like I dated a guy, it might mean that I just went on one date with him. So I want to preface that because if it's a relationship, I will specify that as well. Something that is new to me in this whole dating situation and dating rules thing is typically I have this rule like nobody comes over to my house. That's my kid's space. We don't do that. But I also had more flexibility when I lived in the same state as their dad and, could go other places. Now I don't have that break so much anymore. So I'm trying to figure out how to squeeze in these midday dates. And it's kind of working out so far, but I'll be honest, it's also led to some outdoor sex. And I haven't done it in public. I haven't done, oh my God, my grandma's going to kill me. I can't say that. Okay, so now I'm going through this whole new situation where I'm dating all of these single dads and their kids are around my kids' ages. And naturally, just like meeting somebody and them having kids the same age as your kids, you're like, oh, my kid loves that. Your kid loves that. Oh, we should totally get our kids together for a play date. And that sounds all good and great. And then you realize, or at least I realize that, wait, like that would mean that they kind of met the person I'm dating, but you obviously wouldn't be like romantic around the kids. But is that like lying to them? And it's kind of unfortunate right now because I don't have so many people to introduce the kids to and who have kids my age, just other parents in general. So I haven't really figured out how and if I'm going to navigate that if the time comes. But on that one, I'm not asking for your opinion. I think, whatever I decide to do is whatever I decide to do. And I always think that, like, whatever you decide to do is whatever you decide to do. But whatever I do decide to do, I will share. And there's no right or wrong, is there? I think that everybody knows their situation and knows their kid and knows the other situation and the other kids. And yeah, I don't know. I don't think that there's so many rules when it comes to these situations. It's kind of like feel it out as you go. If you fall on your face, you fall on your face. At least that's kind of how I have done things so far. So, take that if you want to take it and leave it if you want to leave it. But yeah, that's just kind of how dating has been for me thus far. All of the situations that I've found myself in dating as a single mom, dating here on Long Island, dating single dads. So with that being said, I have a lot of good fucking stories and I have a whole list of all of this subscriber only content that I'm going to be putting out. And because so many of you have already subscribed, which is just insane, I literally didn't think that like people would be that into my life. I'm really going to produce more content so that I am truly giving you guys something with this subscription. And it means the world to me. I said in my first subscription episode that it means everything to me that you're subscribing. Because it means everything to me, I'm going to give everything to you. So all the juicy details, all the tea, so much exclusive content, so much more that I can say that I can't say to like the general public, you know what I mean? So if you're ready to get real tight, make sure you subscribe. And if you're just here along for the ride, make sure you hit follow because that is super supportive as well. So thank you guys so much for listening. This is Young, Hot, and Divorced. I'm Tori, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Have a great day.